Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton ADR, North Carolina, and the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, as well as this wonderful MAAP community. I'm so glad you all are coming here tonight or listening later on, because this has been some heck of a week for pet parents all over the world. In the Ukraine, it has been an incredible sight to see people fleeing from their homes or taking shelter in subways or in bomb shelters or in basements with their pets peeking out from various blankets. Cats, dogs. I saw a turtle. I saw a hamster. I saw a rabbit. There were so many animals that have been displaced by war. And I know that we've been here talking about animals that are displaced because of COVID, because of the 8Ds, death, disaster, divorce, disease, disability, delay, dementia. Just, there are so many reasons why things occur, and your pet needs to have a roadmap for the next step they take. So I'm so glad you're here. And before everyone gets on, I'm going to, again, go through the letters and what they stand for, because quite frankly, the people in Ukraine, Poland, Bulgaria, any of the countries that are taking refugees in from this difficult time in Ukraine, are doing the MAAP plan. They've made a plan. The relief services have followed the MAAP plan. They have made a plan. You can come with your pets. You don't need to have any sort of documentation. We will accept them. You will be their appointed caregiver, and we will help you understand their needs and help you to accommodate their needs. And we're telling everyone that we have opened our borders not only to people, but to pets. And I have to say that this has been the single most important change in how things are done in such difficult times. We all know that during COVID, pets became so important to us. A bunch of us knew that pets were really important to us before COVID, and that we wouldn't want to leave any pets behind. However, now we really understand that pets are so important to our well-being. And as people are fleeing from Ukraine, they're taking their pets with them. So remember, this is a plan you have to make, and no one could have planned for this. But as I said, some of you might have missed it. The greatest feat of all was that the MAAP plan was really embraced by the countries that are accepting refugees. They said, bring their pets. Please bring your pets. Don't stay because you have your pets. Of course, that doesn't help people with horses and pigs and chickens and things like that. Those are difficult animals to commute with. But if you have a dog or a cat or a bird or a turtle or a lizard, you probably, although lizards probably wouldn't do well in the winter in Ukraine, traveling 24 hours sometimes to the Polish border. I just thought it was so impactful and important for tonight's discussion to start with the fact that the MAAP plan was carried out by those who are rendering aid to the Ukrainians. They've made a plan. Come, we'll figure it out. Bring your pets. They address the needs of the pet. They have food. They allow people to stay together in the refugee areas with their pets. They've appointed caregivers. I'm sure that everybody is watching everybody else's pet, and sometimes probably sharing that pet with people who don't have pets in such a troubling time. And then, of course, on the internet, everybody, their aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, are publishing all over the internet. Not only that, if you are fleeing Ukraine, you can bring your pets with you. And here in the United States, there are so many groups that are raising money and funds and supplies for pets of the war. So when we talk about making a plan for your pet, navigating the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it, this is what we're planning for. I've spoken to so many people over the last 2 weeks with respect to making plans for their pets, and I'm so grateful. They hear this program, they call me up, they want to make a plan. I'm talking to their attorneys as well, so I'm having their attorneys understand how to do this. I'm not sure they'll call me in for the next client or just use my stuff from the first client, but you know what? As long as there's a plan for the pet, I'm okay with that. So without further ado, I know this has been sort of a really incredibly life-changing week. We thought COVID was a life-changing week. We didn't see nothing yet, given what's been going on in the past 7 days. So I'm going to check in with everyone. Susan, how is Maggie doing, and how are you holding up?
Yeah, we ran out of the trazodone, so she's back full swing in her old behaviors. So, I mean, she's the barking and the biting. The biting is much less than it had been, but the barking is pretty miserable at times. But
well, that shows two things, Susan. It shows one thing, that the trazodone works for the part that really makes it difficult to be with her, the barking. So that's good. And last week you had shared that she really didn't change much. Her personality didn't change that much. Not that she was biting or anything, but that the trazodone really took that edge off that needed her to bark all the time.
Yeah, it did help a little. And, talking about making a plan for the pet, we do have a lot going on right now with my husband, and it's a really overwhelming time for me at the moment, not even thinking about the Ukraine, what's happening there. And yeah, it's just.
Well, remember, you can always call the Ketone Club of America. If you are really having a rough time, ask them if there's someone in the area who can foster her for you for a little while. Or just get some feedback, because they will help you. They really will. And so don't feel like you're alone. Also call the breeder and see if she has any suggestions for you, because if we're in overwhelm, sometimes we need a helping hand. And where we get that is in several places. Even call the vet's office and see if any of the vet techs or people who know Maggie might take her for a little while you're settling things.
They know her. Yeah, they may not want to take her.
Well, you never know. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Especially on trazodone. She seems to be much better on trazodone.
That does help. Yeah, absolutely.
So, the additional stress of everything that's happening is going to make it more stressful for Maggie as well. So recognize sometimes it's good to give everybody a break from the stress. And it seems that everything is coming down in your house so difficultly at this point. So maybe it is time to take a break. If it's, help from Ketone Rescue, the National Club's rescue, or a Ketone Rescue that is recognized and approved by the National Club. And I would make sure that I wasn't, going to be giving her up if I let them take her for a little while. Or a vet tech, or a dog sitter. Even if the dog sitter takes her for a day or two, or comes in and takes her for a walk or for a ride or something, just to give you guys a break. You never know how much you need. And sometimes just that little break will be enough.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she would respond, because she is so attached to, especially my husband. He can go down to the basement. She's hysterical if she doesn't get to go follow him down to the basement. Yeah.
So if it's a rough time, see if that would work. And it might be hard for your husband too, because I'm sure he loves her. So
we would miss her terribly. Yeah.
Right. To have a family meeting, and maybe it's just that somebody comes and takes her for a ride in the car in a crate for an hour, and then brings her back, and everybody gets a breather, including Maggie.
Yeah, it would be good to give her other experiences, because she's been very limited in her exposure.
Puppy. Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see how that might benefit her.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say the more experiences you can give them, short little bites, is really, really wonderful. So, Sally, how's everything going with you and the girls?
Well, everything is just great here. We're expecting an inch of snow, of course. But Susan, I took my friend's dog on July 3rd, and her dog is still with me.
Yes,
And,
be careful what you wish for.
and I said, no problem. She can come and stay here. And she's just like fit in perfectly. And
Wow.
it's always been our understanding that at some point in time, when things settle down on the other end, she will go back. But she's so happy here. And we have another dog, the same breed as this dog. And they're just great companions. They walk together. They're happy. They watch out for one another. It's just pure joy to have the two of them. And
They're both females or?
they are both females, yes.
Okay.
One's spayed, one is not spayed. And it's just a great experience, just seeing the two of them interact. And we never thought about two dogs ever. And all of a sudden we had two dogs. And it's like, you know what? This works. And then my friend, her life kept changing. And I said, it's okay. We're just appreciating and enjoying every day with your dog. So you'd be very surprised. I mean, for us, it's a complete joy. We're just thrilled having the two dogs.
Yeah, that's nice when it can work out like that. I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
And you never know unless you ask, because that same friend asked Sally to take on a dachshund in August of 2019. And they had never taken on a dachshund before, plus an Irish setter. And it changed their life for the better, because they never knew what a long-haired dachshund was like. And they sort of thought she was pretty nifty.
They fell in love. Okay.
I think you'll be very, very surprised. You just go in and make it very clear, what our life is. We're having a situation right now, but could you just take her for a while we calm these things down, put out these fires, and we would love to have her back. There are a lot of people that will reach out to you. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yep. Foster homes are things that really, people have time in their life to take a dog. And so they're going to help somebody out, but they don't want the full, I know that Sally and Gordon would probably love to have the full ride because they love them so much. But they really do want to, help people out. So don't hesitate to ask at the vets if they do it or if they know of someone. You really want to make sure you check them out and see if they've done it for someone else before, or if you know them long term, or if they live close enough that you can drop in and see how the dogs are doing. Because I have to say, I have a client who I don't have a client because I couldn't take her because of things that are coming up. But she called my office and wanted help. She had given her two cats to someone who is going to spay and alter them for free. And the cats haven't returned yet. So she's a little worried, and it's been about 2 weeks. So she's a little worried. So just do a little due diligence, which we all do, before you do that.
I think one of my big fears is that Maggie might escape, because I had a dog escape once from a groomer, and it was very traumatic. And, I luckily got the dog back, but
it is very traumatic. I never let anyone walk my dogs. Well, I take that back. People can walk my dogs, but usually I only let when people come to take care of my dogs, I let them out in the fenced in backyard, just for that reason, because, you never know. They see a squirrel, they see something, they slip.
Anything can happen. Yes.
Anything can happen. Right.
Yeah.
So good, Sally. I'm so glad that the girls are doing well. I think I heard there was a mouse in the house, and that kept everybody entertained for a little while.
Yes, but the mouse is now in heaven, so the entertainment is gone.
Yeah, the dispatched by a trap, I'm sure. Great, wonderful. Hey, Kieran, good to see you, honey. How are you?
Hi, Debbie. Good to be back.
Yes, we were worried. You didn't write and say you weren't coming, so I was a little worried, but I knew you were far away from any action, so I knew that you were probably just enjoying yourself in a sandstorm.
No, it was a case of dyslexia in the cosmos.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling well.
I told them to send Cupid for Valentine's Day, and they sent COVID instead.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
So it's dyslexia got me this time for the last 2
Oh,
weeks.
no.
Holy Toledo.
Mm.
Well, Beth is going to just listen, and I'd love to let you all know that she has a great Facebook page, Wagtown, that you should all check out and friend her on Facebook. She does all sorts of training and has great programs, and she's a very good friend, and I love her. And I've been on her podcast, Wag Out Loud. I think I have. Yeah, I have what she gave me for speaking. It's an eyeglass. It's really, well, you can't see it, but it's a really lovely eyeglass wipe. So I loved it. I had such a great time. And she and I are going to get together on Why Do Pets Matter as well. But she's one of the staunchest supporters of the MAAP plan because she also thinks it's really important to have a plan for pets. So I wanted to check in with everybody today because it's been such a crazy week and because of all the talk about everyone leaving Ukraine with their pets. I mean, what do you think about that? I think that that has really brought into stark relief how important our pets have become to us. Kieran, I'm going to start with you. What did you think when you saw all the people pouring out of Ukraine with their children and their pets?
Yeah, it's
Responsible dog ownership extraordinaire,
no,
or
it does.
pet ownership.
It reminds me of one event back in. Let me get the dates right. So I think this was about 1986. I was living in Berlin for a year, and this is when the wall was up, and my mother and her sister came over for a holiday, and so that's my aunt, who is a bit of a historian, and we'd planned to go into East Germany or into East Berlin for a day, and the rule was you would get the day pass and a visa, but you had to stay within the borders of the city. And unfortunately, I'll put it this way, my mother was sort of the adventurer from the Wild West. And she said, no, we're getting on the first train and we're getting out of the city. And she wanted to see the countryside. So I thought, well, I hope it's only a one-day stay that we end up with.
Or end up in the gulag.
Yes. So just to divert slightly, my mother was the first commercial female driver in Ireland. So
Wow.
So believe me, nothing was off limits in the Wild West. And anyway, we ended up in this tiny little village in the middle of nowhere, and we went into a restaurant, and we were the first foreigners everybody working in the restaurant ever saw, or any of the younger ones. So I thought, oh, lovely, we're in real trouble now.
They'll be boning up the Garda soon.
Yeah. So to cut a long story short, they were very nice to us, and then suddenly a lot of very elderly people came in, and they wanted to talk to my mother, my sister, and share stories from the Second World War. And what was sort of crazy about East Berlin at the time, nothing had changed since the 40s. Nothing changed in those 40 years. It was like going back in time.
Yeah.
And the point of all of this is I'm suddenly beginning to understand what that conversation was, because this is sort of the first day-to-day war and how ridiculous it is and how crazy it is. And the one maybe useful thing I see about this, and it actually comes back to how we look after our pets in today's world, which is, as I would see it, there's sort of two dynamics here, which is how quickly the madness of people who do live in the past is going to implode, or how quickly the international financial system, which each of us, and the internet system, which each of us is very much part of, it's a war between those two.
Yeah.
And there can be only one winner here. Now, I know everybody will say I'm crazy, but I think this could be over by Friday.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Right. Because what I see by the day and by the minute is war in 2020, 22 is like everything else on the planet. It's good as long as it can be financed.
That's why they did the financial crippling, because
Crippling.
you have to be able to pay for gas.
Yeah. So it's but
I hope they run out of gas before they run out of bombs.
Yeah.
No, I think that's wrong. I hope they run out of gas first, and I hope they can't even do the bombs or do anything else because they run out of gas. And I also feel very sorry for the young Russian soldiers who I don't think really have an idea about what it is that they're getting involved in. So what an important story, because if you live in the past, you're right. You tend to solve things that way. And we see now, because of global interaction, that you can't do those atrocities anymore without having a huge public opinion go against you. And that's, I think, a very good thing. And of course, also, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has really probably risen to an occasion he never thought he would have, even in his sitcom when he was president. I don't think they could have written a story like this in that sitcom. So I'm really thrilled that he is doing what he's doing. I want to share with all of you, because if you go to the MAAP International Animal Organization, so I'll put those in the show notes, you can donate money to the refugee pets that can now travel across the borders freely. They need no EU pet passport. Just they're coming in, don't worry. And then there's, of course, a bunch of fundraising events. All you have to do on Facebook is go to hashtag Ukrainian pets, or Ukraine pets, sorry, UKRAINE pets. Last week we talked about this before everything occurred, and we were all going to pray and hope for the best. Connie was here, and because she worked on in the aeronautics and aerospace, she was a lot less positively minded than we were. You missed that, Colin? She was like, yeah, it's going to be a SHIT show. So we are here now, a week later, but I wanted to make sure that if anybody felt the need or desire or want to, donate $5, it goes a long way. It helps the people who are in refugee camps. And it's not that I don't want you to donate to people who are refugees as well. But if your heart is, because you're here on the MAAP plan, if your heart is also with the pets, if you're going to donate 10, donate 5 to each, because that way the pets get assistance as well. Sally, what's your thoughts on this? It really has made me stop and think about whether or not a MAAP plan in this kind of situation would work, because it is a massive upheaval of 800,000 or more people and their families and their pets.
Well, in the late 90s, I lived in Korea, and we had an Irish setter there. And I said, we'll bring our dog. If we get evacuated, we have to go down into the subways. We'll take our dog. And they told us we're going out of Busan and then out of the country. And they said, no, your dog is not going. You go, no dog. And at that time, I guess I made my own individual MAAP plan. I went to the next door neighbors and I put aside money, and they lived right across the street or the apartment. And I said, please, we'll come back at some point, just take care of the pet. And then they came over every day, and I said, just take over our apartment. Consider your apartment twice as big, because at that point we couldn't take our pets. They made it very clear, you can't take it. And so this has come a long, long way. Yeah. So I'm impressed with the fact.
I was incredibly impressed too, because it was sort of something that didn't happen willy-nilly. It was incredibly organized, and it was almost immediate. So when people started to flee Ukraine, they were bringing their pets, and it was a no-brainer for Poland, for the other bordering countries to say, yes, you and your pets can come. because everybody knows, especially post-COVID, that our pets keep us sane. And this is a really difficult time. And after Katrina, as we learned, not allowing people to bring their pets leaves them in harm's way. And I think everyone wanted, if you could get out of harm's way, they wanted you to get out of harm's way. I mean, we are seeing the bombings in Ukraine now, and there is a lot of harm's way over there. There is a lot of destruction, and you can't stay and really escape it. So that the other countries not only recognize what they needed to do to address, the war atrocities that are being pounded on people, but also the needs of the people, let them in and let them in with their pets, was such a mind and game changer for me, because it really never crossed my mind. And here I am doing the MAAP plan every Wednesday, that people would be evacuating with their pets. It should have, because of course in Katrina they did. But now it's something that I'm going to address again, and why I'm addressing it here. You really need to think about what to do. I talk about disasters and disabilities and making plans to take care of yourself and your pets if something happens to you. But quite frankly, we now have to plan for things that we hope never happen, but may happen. I know that there's a lot of talk about the United States taking their foot off the gas a little bit because we don't want to tip that switch. That's something we don't want to do. And hopefully that is, oh, thank you. Rose put up a link to Ukraine as well in English. So if you guys want to pull that from the discussion, but it really is important for us to know, that we have to make a plan for our pets, or when things like this happen, we're going to have to count on the humanity of others to allow us to move with our pets. And if we set it up so that we can move with our pets more easily, I saw several pets in small carriers. And that, of course, makes it so much easier for you to move with your small pets. My Irish setter isn't ever going to move in a carrier. He's going to walk in next to me. But it just is something that really we need to make sure we pay attention to. Susan, do you want to chime in on how all of this is affecting you, seeing that the animals are being accepted across the borders?
Oh, it's just wonderful because, I have a little baby stroller for Maggie, so it would be easy for me to disguise her as a, as long as she keeps her mouth closed, a little extra trazodone, right?
That's right.
So,
but it really it moved me. And I have to say, on a little bit of a lighter note, so today is Ash Wednesday, and if you celebrate, it's Ash Wednesday. And so over the weekend, we had a Mardi Gras party in Beaufort, because Beaufort is the coolest town I've ever lived in, bar none, I have to say. And Jim and I felt that we were Junies +2, because I walk around Beaufort, and you see from my musings with Junie, every Tuesday and Thursday, that I'm always in Beaufort with Junie. Maybe sometimes I'm in my backyard, but usually I'm in Beaufort with Junie. Well, we arrived at Mardi Gras, and everyone knew Junie. Nobody knew Jim and I. We were nobody or nothing. However, everybody, that's the Irish setter that walks around town. Look, there's the Irish setter that walks around town. So, I'm sitting here thinking, I bet I could get a half a dozen names of people who would take my dog for a day or two if something happened to me, because they're all like, that's that Irish setter. So, don't think that people aren't watching you, and if somebody wants to talk to you, talk to them, because that's how you're going to be able to find, remember the nosy neighbor who's going to tell the EMTs to leave the dog in the house, really important, or the cat in the house, because that's until the person who is going to come and take care of your pet. You need somebody right there on the grounds to make sure that they don't take your dog away. Otherwise, you better have a piece of paper with your next person caregiver that says, yes, yes, I can take the dog because Deborah gave me permission to take the dog, because it is what happens. They go to animal care and control. And if you get out and you can get them, great. But if you're very sick and you can't get out, remember, many dogs were rehomed because their owners were in the hospital for, a 2 or 3 months, and then they can't get them back. I said that to a couple I met while on the walk with Junie tonight before this meeting. I met them at Mardi Gras, and of course they knew Junie's name right away tonight. Mine, not so much, but that's okay. Usually if you go to the dog park, you only know people's dogs' names. You never know the people's names. Sometimes you do, but most times you don't. So we were talking, and they said, we rescued 2 dogs from a woman who was very ill. They were Rhodesian Ridgebacks, and we rescued 2 dogs from her. She was a breeder. So these are the kind of things that, you have to think about and you have to put together. So we're coming to the top of the hour, and I know this was a little bit of a downbeat MAAP plan, and I hardly ever have a downbeat MAAP plan. So let's end with, Susan, tell me something really great and positive that happened to you this week. I know it's a hard week to think of that, but tell me what positive.
It is a hard week. I'm having a hard time. I'm sorry I can't come up with anything, but I guess we did get some medical results for Tom. So,
and were they good?
Well, they're there. We're going to get them tomorrow, and so I'm kind of a little bit on tenterhooks, wondering about what the result's going to be. So, but
we'll tuck you in our prayers.
Thank you,
all of us. We do. Sally, what's the good thing other than that the mouse is gone now?
Well, I think it was kind of amazing. I let both the girls out in the yard, and I looked, and there was Roxy in midair throwing a toy around the yard, just running around circles as fast as she could. The sun came out, just pure joy. And then her sister Athena joined in too, and I was like, wow, it's a real ray of sunshine, just it gives you hope.
Yep, it does. You have to look for that hope everywhere. Yeah. Kieran?
Okay, well, a little bit of humor actually out of the crisis that was on the BBC yesterday, and I thought this was beautiful, which was in Russia, the press are forbidden from using the words war or invasion. So the great news is Putin is launching a new book by Leo Tolstoy called Special Operation.
Oh my God, that is chocolate. Yeah, Special Operation. And Beth, if you want to pop something in the chat, you can. If not, I will tell you my happy thing for the week, and that is that March 10th is a go. So we will get the new Lego March 10th. My doctor went to the insurance company and they denied the use of the robot, but they did approve the surgery. So he is going to use the robot, and he said, I'll go back to them and ask for them to pay me after I use it. And if they don't, I'll eat the cost. I said, well, thank you so much. So I will be having a new knee. I will see you next Wednesday, of course, as is. And then the following Wednesday, new and improved, and probably on some really great drugs. So I'll be really good on, I think it's like the 16th or 17th, whatever that Wednesday is. So I will see you then. But until then, everyone, please take care. Tuck everyone in Ukraine in your prayers. I'm tucking all of you in my prayers, especially Tom, Susan.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back. Beth, thanks for coming. Next time, you're going to have to talk the whole time because you didn't talk at all this time. And until next time, this is Deborah Hamilton ADR, North Carolina, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. And of course, I am so grateful for all of you, my MAAP community, because we all have to make the plan for our pets because they're counting on us.